Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. I am here today with what I'm kind of calling, I think, my She Discovery journal. So this is a lap book, another of my lap books that is kind of about a lot of science exploration and discovery with some overtones of celestial space and like sort of telling a little bit of a story of, a woman in STEM who, is trying to kind of go into astronomy or something in that field at a time maybe when it's a very male-oriented kind of place, which it actually still is. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I made this inside an old Golden Home and High School Encyclopedia, Volume 9, and it has these kind of Galileo type illustrations on the front and this fun space-themed swirling image here. And I've added, this is a woodcut dial. This textbook itself is beautifully worn. It is a lovely book. This has two signatures that are visibly bound here. And on back, we have this little woodcut, also of like a gauge. Now around this one and this one, I've done this corrosion technique that I've discovered using inks and glues and heat, and it's actually quite fun. I've attached this old vintage piece of metal on the front here. And this is actually from a very, very old, early 1900s music stand, and it was the hinge on the music stand that held the sheet music, and I just felt like it would be a fun piece of metal to put on the front here. So let's hop into this book. So I like the idea of kind of creating a bit of this book belongs to visual profile of this book's owner and her story. So what I've done here is I've used a couple of vintage photographs. So I'll bring the book up a little close so that you can see this one. So this is a group of 4 women here, and they're standing in front of a university sculpture at a Canadian university. These are images from the Kitchener and Waterloo area from the 1930s to 1950s. I'm sort of feeling like she was born in the early 1950s. And this is the picture of her as just maybe like a senior high school student. So that just pops in here. I've got a few things in here. So first of all, I love the original end papers of this book, so I left them here. And I used this lovely foil paper on the inside of the spine binding. And then this is just a fun double folder that I made from some vintage file folders. So then inside here, this is Huntley Castle. It's a postcard and from Great Britain. And I felt like it could be just sort of another memento of her travels. I imagine she's like a student who, became a young woman, did a lot of traveling during her education, and, you'll see as the story goes. So there's a few things in here. So, a quick reference, geometry, paper, this this is a very old image from 1506. It's in the public domain, and there's lots of this kind of lithograph looking paper throughout that's all been tea dyed. Then this is from the sky month by month. These are the events of the moon in July, and this is from the Rask Observer's Handbook. It's like all about all of the different things that happen in the sky, and one is published every year. This is from a Galileo book, a vintage book that I used throughout this book. And then this is a book of Victorian inventions, and I just loved the things that maybe she was looking into at the time. A traveling electric stairway lamp, cloud advertising, electric searchlight. So this is cloud advertising in Paris. So yeah, I really love that book, and I had to include something from it in here because I felt like she would be researching things and being, you know, excited about like the goings on in the scientific world at the time, and that, you know, she was kind of like, if you've ever seen the movie Harriet the Spy, when she says, I want to see everything and I want to write it all down. So I feel like her personality type is kind of that ilk. So let me just get recentered here. All right, so then here we have some of my very grungy iron and eco-printed paper. They house both of the signatures, these papers. These ones specifically have a lot of iron in the die, and this one has a chain that I printed onto the paper, so it's really fun. This is the front page of the Galileo book. I feel like Galileo is someone she was just really inspired by as a person on the cusp of space exploration and discovery of the stars. And so then we have the comet of 1811 here. This is a flip out for more writing space here. And then this is a piece of art. Then this is the copyright page from the book from 1974 in Galileo. And I felt like this was maybe a piece of art that she saw at a gallery that she just thought was really impactful. And it's covered with blue paper on back for writing space. It's been hand dyed. And then this is from a vintage yearbook. And I think you could pick out whoever you would want her to be. So this is the Levanas Society, which at this university was the society of the women who were in this school. And they basically were a minority in this school. So I felt like this is a really nice kind of way to take a look at, you know, the society of women students in the university at the time. Then on back here we have the honors BSc students. I felt like maybe you could select a crush for her here or something. Then this is a little tab that has M. I also have the O and N letters later on in the book, just kind of like moon. And so back here, there's this piece of art from a photography book that I felt like was like really fitting for the book, like moon exploration, or like it's, you know, dark mountains, just kind of something that would inspire her. And then this is a little NASA card of Abel 1835. And that just tucks in there. And then back here we have from an old book torn out just the word discovery, and then some more of these fun mountain photography kind of photos that look very spacey. And then this is from sort of a Curiosa book with all of these different strange kind of samples that have been arranged in a very sort of scientific sample type way. So they're really fun to read because you can see all these different little things like who they belong to, where they came from, Frank Stella, pieces of glitter picked off of a painting, like, so all different people who collected different things and what they had to say about them. So here's a large example that I felt like was good for the book because maybe this is something that she was able to see on her travels. This is a piece of Christo's Running Fence, California, 1977. So I imagine that this was actually her sample. And then some blue dyed paper. Then we have here, this is an old Galileo illustration, and I've put down here what it is, Galileo's drawing of the Copernican system of the universe, showing his own discovery of the 4 satellites of Jupiter. So this is it here, and then it's on an envelope that just pulls out here, and then inside the envelope we have the Cornet of 1811 on some very fun weathered paper. And then I felt like this is something that she held on to from her childhood. It's actually from a very old book from the early 1900s. And this is the Wynken, Blynken, and Nod story by Eugene Field. And because it's kind of about like nighttime and the moon, I feel like it was something that maybe she held special to her. Wynken, Blynken, and Nod one night sailed off in a wooden shoe, sailed on a river of crystal light into a sea of dew. Where are you going, and what do you wish? The old moon asked the three. We have come to fish for herring fish that live in this beautiful sea. Nets of silver and gold we have, said Wynken, Blynken, and Nod. So I thought that was kind of nice. And then on back it continues. The old moon laughed and sang a song as they rocked in the wooden shoe, and the wind that sped them all night long ruffled the waves of dew. The little stars were the herring fish that lived in the beautiful sea. Now cast your nets wherever you wish, never afeard are we. So cried the stars to the fishermen three, winkin', blinkin', and nod. Then on this page we have a page from a Galileo book about the telescope and the discovery of the telescope, and then this lovely celestial image here. This has been tea-dyed, and they just all the paper clips in this book are either vintage brass or rusted by me. And then we have Leonardo Donato, for whom Galileo made his famous improved telescope in 1609. This is an altered National Geographic page. I felt like it looked very much like something from a space satellite. And some cabbage dyed grungy paper, some of my rusty cog dyed paper, the background to the Renaissance, a time when many scientists and artists were being paid by members of the public or the elite, like the Medici family, for their discoveries and their art and their depiction of life. And then this is the fall of Demeter on June 9th, 1866. So just lots of cool illustrations, very old illustrations. And this is St. Thomas Aquinas, the instrument through which Aristotle's science and view of the universe became the only interpretation acceptable to the Roman Catholic Church, who, of course, at the time, controlled a lot of decision-making on what could be published and how people could gain an understanding of the world. So that's a complex conversation for another time. And then this is some graph paper, vintage graph paper. Over here we have a little tuck spot made from Tycho Supernova remnant, a little NASA card, and then this is some handwriting actually written by Galileo, the signature of Galileo on the statement of his recantation. So how upsetting to have to do a recantation of, your findings, and that kind of ties into the whole Catholic Church situation, right? So I think, she's pondering, right, how life works as it's been discovered by scientists throughout the age, and the complexities that things like religion or public opinion can have on scientists, on artists. So again, discovery, exploration, woman in the field, growing up. It's a story that has many layers. So this is some really interesting photography by Clement Valia from Google. These are Google Earth postcards. So what she does is she takes Google Earth screenshots and photographs, and she splices them together from all different times, and they make these really cool looking like melted landscapes. They're amazing. If you are looking for her work, look her up because she's really cool. And then this is from an 1860 book. It's a mechanics book, a mechanics manual, and I love these cool technical drawings, and so I had to include them. Tests and adjustments of the vibrator type of high tension coil. So, machining and all of that technology, all part of her interests. And then we have this page. Some of the pages have been put in kind of like haphazardly on purpose, because I feel like this was like, her book that she just quickly put all of her discoveries and findings and thoughts and torn things into. So here we show a bit of discovery going on. And then some celestial images here. This is about how the constellations were controlled, the signs of the zodiac. And then we have a little verse here from Thomas Hayrick, 1649 to 1694. On a sunbeam, thou beauteous offspring of a sire as fair, with thy kind influence thou dost all things heat. Thou gild'st the heaven, the sea, the earth, and air, and under massy rocks dost gold beget. Though pake, dull earth thou dost make fine, thou dost i'th moon and planets shine, and if astronomy say true, our earth to them doth seem a planet too. So I like this because it's 1600s and it's like theory kind of the Earth's existence, and Thomas Herrick kind of reflecting on like how, you know, if this is what we're being told, then it must be true. Like, I kind of thought that was an interesting poem. And the paper is very grungy, fun, cabbage-dyed paper. This is from a Griffin and Sabine notebook. It's name, address, and telephone number kind of paper. This is just a really old illustration from a book, and I felt like it was kind of like a discovery type image, because we have this girl and her dog kind of hiding away, and this boy with a lantern looking around, and we see the moon, and maybe this has some significance to our scientist. Some blue and cabbage dyed papers. This is an image here of Galileo and the telescope, and it's actually a pocket, and we pull out this astronomy image of Cancer in the sky, and that just tucks on in here inside this sort of tattery pocket. You'll see why in a minute. So on this side we have this tattered edge of a book, and this is a beautiful, one of many beautiful gargoyles that are in this book. So this one has glasses on and it's peering into a book, and I felt like it was very, you know, kind of like if there's a gargoyle to identify with this woman, it's this one, because she's got her nose in a book. So then you see back here we have a brad. It's coming from over here, and we have this. We're hiding another little gargoyle in the snow, and then you can do some extra sort of hidden writing here. And then we have the method of measuring the height of lunar mountains from a letter written by Galileo to Father Cristoforo Greenberger of the Roman College in 1611. And cabbage dyed, blue dyed papers, more of the Griffin and Sabine book, and we have this fun sun here. And then this is more cabbage dyed paper, and this is just a fun little folded journal card of images of the moon on top that just sits up here. And then more of that fun zodiac type art. After the sun came the moon, queen to the sun's king, a female principle to answer the male, responsive, instinctual, and so sensitive and sympathetic that it seemed almost to dissolve into whatever it touched. So this talks a little bit about the moon and, you know, the feminine principle of like the sun and the moon, and I thought that was also a nice thing to fit into like her being a woman and, you know, the different influences that she was experiencing. Another page of that fun old mechanics book. And then this is by Valerie Bellin, Crowned Head #1 from 2009. And I like this image because I feel like it's also a part of her story. It's like, you know, the challenges that we face as women, like in the STEAM environment, where like, you know, you're trying to be two things at once, and like gender and beauty and all those things can really play a role in your life. You know, I think about how I was just watching a documentary the other day. There was a doctor talking about how, you know, she had just worked an 18-hour shift on her feet, but she had a conference that she was speaking at, and they expected her to wear heels. And I thought, like, you know, isn't that just so symbolic of the kind of challenges that we still deal with? And this is another image of a woman here with lots of layers, and I like how over her eye there's this this lettering that's like a circle. It almost looks like a lens. And then clipped on we have this oops, upside down. This is the Hercules celestial image, and it has been also tea-dyed. All of these are tea-dyed. And then more of the graph paper. And then on this page, the background to the Renaissance, I love this illustration. And on back, we have more old Galileo art from the Galileo book. And then I added this. This is the cover of a lovely old book, The Little Prince, an edition of The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. So I covered the whole back in blue paper, and over the flap edges I added this really fun washi tape. It's like very celestial with these hands, and it's just a nice big kind of space to write. And it's I left the description of The Little Prince, and, you know, by E.E. Cummings, and it's very like old, and you know, this is all natural aging. I did not do this with ink. And I just thought it was a nice little extra writing space kind of folder, and that this would be the kind of book that would have inspired her as a child. Then we have more watercolor paper that's been printed with this beautiful iron, these large cogs that I do printing with. And then this lovely old image of the sun on some cabbage dyed sunburst paper. More of the National Geographic that's been dissolved. And then this is the telescope. Johannes Kepler, the brilliant German astronomer with whom Galileo corresponded for many years, published his momentous book, Astronomia Nova, the same year that Galileo discovered his telescope. And more information on the telescope. This is actually a pocket here, and this is an image of basically space discovery. You can see the star overhead, the falling star. And then this is more of the Winkin', Blinkin' and Nodge children's book. It moves on to another story, but I still like the clock tower image. And I added a couple of these old celestial images in here. They're on tea-dyed paper, the principal comments, and this is like a lithograph type image, 1007. I think that's supposed to represent either a falling star or the sun. These are very, very old images from the public domain. And then on this side, we have some more of that children's book. And I just left this page because I love the illustrations and I thought that the verse was also nice. Next morning, where the two had sat, they found no trace of dog or cat. And some folks think unto this day that burglars stole the pair away. But the truth about the cat and pup is this: they ate each other up. Now, what do you really think of that? The old Dutch clock. It told me so, and that is how I came to know. And I sort of thought about this like, you know, not to believe everything you hear, and how very much during, you know, this time of discovery and science in general, you have to follow those principles. You're always trying to prove a hypothesis and upgrade your information, right? So I thought it was kind of like a children's hearkening to that same message. And then more cabbage dyed paper. Marble fragment of a brass and black marble side cabinet, probably French, circa 1932. The piece of furniture belongs to Andy Warhol and sold for $26,000 at Sotheby's, New York. And then more of those other little samples there. And this is an image from the Griffin and Sabine. And here we have the M. We were lovers and I hadn't realized it. How strange to have a paper love, Griffin. So I love that because paper love, first of all. And secondly, we're right next to this page and maybe her sweetheart is somewhere here in these images of these old yearbook. And then we have some information here on ancient wisdom. The city of Alexandria on a Roman lamp in the 1st century. The astronomer Ptolemy, 1508. Then over here, a pocket that I've made from this old astronomy image. This talks a little bit about Charlemagne, and then Le Poisson, the celestial paper, and more of my chain and eco-printed iron papers. There's a couple of them together. This one's really fun and dramatic. And then this is a page from the Galileo book. It's the end paper. It's just such a beautiful depiction of where he lived. It was just really nice. And then here we have clipped on to another image of the gargoyles. Another page of that fun Victorian inventions. So we see Tesla and some images here. Recent Tesla experiments in Berlin, 1894. Tesla's experiments with alternating high voltage currents. Tesla stood there like the archangel brandishing the flaming sword. So that just clips on there. Then over here we have some more cabbage dyed paper and another little verse from, is it Thomas Henley? How unaccountable thy journeys prove, thy swift course through the universe doth fly, from lofty heights and distant heavens above, to all that the lowly centre lie. Thy parent sun once in a day, through heaven doth steer his well-beat way, though of a swifter, subtler breed, dost every moment his day's course exceed. So then this page is, this is Mishka Henner, Nephra Oil and Gas Facility from the Libyan oil fields in 2011. So this is some like drone photography, and I've added some of the silvery paper here. I've stitched on the side just to have something fun and shiny that hangs out of the side of the book. This is also Mishka Henner, Hollywood #1 from Les American, 2012, and it has a woman depicted here kind of as a shadow and kind of like the gargoyle type architecture behind here, so it all ties in. And then we have another dissolved National Geographic kind of spacey looking paper, a geometric picture of the universe showing Aristotle's 4 elements, earth, water, air, and fire, surrounded by the spheres of planets and fixed stars, from Raymond Lull, 1523. This has a bit about Greek physics and concepts. And then on this page, we've got this pocket that I made from an index card, and it has a tag here with this kind of exploration type paper. And then there's a little tuck where I've added NGC 68Z6. And that's another NASA card. And inside we have the principal comments. And then another page from Wink and Blink and a Nod. All night long their nets they threw to the stars and the twinkling foam. Then down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing the fishermen home. 'Twas all so pretty a sail it seemed as if it could not be, and some folks thought 'twas a dream they dreamed of sailing that beautiful sea. But I shall name you the fishermen 3, Wink and Blink and a Nod. Wink and Blinkin are 2 little eyes, and Nod is a little head. And the wooden shoe that sailed the skies is a wee one's trundle bed. So shut your eyes while mother sings of wonderful sights that be, and you shall see the beautiful things as you rock in the misty sea, where the old shoe rocked the fishermen 3, Wink and Blinkin and Nod. Then we have the NO page here, more cabbage dye paper with this clipped on, another of the, this is Andromeda and Perseus. And that just goes here. Lots of blues and purples and fun markings on this paper. And then this is from the Galileo book. It's just different planet images and this amazing globe. It has so many layers of metal moving parts. And then some graph paper and another of those old mechanic manual pages from the Dykes instruction book. This is David Thomas Smith, Burj, Dubai, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Las Vegas, Nevada, United States, 2009 through 10 from Anthropocene. So this is more drone overhead footage of the world. And this page has been cut on a fun angle. And then this is more of my cabbage dyed sunburst paper. Tidings of the Heavens. So this is more of that sort of celestial imagery. More cabbage and blue dyed papers. To Sir Bernard Miles, who was Galileo in his production of Bertolt Brecht's play at the Mermaid Theatre in 1960. So that's the dedication page from the Galileo book. And then we have this fun envelope here. I felt like it was really fitting, just this like nice sort of starburst theme of the label. So it flips open here, and there is a pocket here, and inside of it we have some of this fun paper. So this one has these dials on it, and then we've got some different kinds of graphing and list paper and graphing on the back. So that just folds for some extra writing and drawing space in here. And then make sure I'm in there. Oh, there we go. And then the flap stays on this side, and we have this pocket here that's been made from like an old office sort of tab paper. And then inside we have this sort of double journal flap card, and this is from the Rask Star book. And on back we have some black walnut dyed paper. This is the Auroral Forms. And then this is watercolor botanically dyed paper with lots of interesting dotting and gritting to it. It's sort of different than the normal flowery paper that I make. Little stars here. This is more of the Griffin and Sabine book. And then we just have some beautiful images, black and white. And this is from the Gargoyle book. I just felt like these were kind of maybe from her travels. More of that botanical. We do have some botanicals. These almost look like fossils to me. Like there's these certain fossils that look like flowers, and I really think that that shape got captured there. This is a coffee dyed index card with one of those old illustrations here, the technical illustration, and I just added a couple fun pieces of cabbage dyed paper with these great rough edges, and it's on a page about ancient wisdom, kind of about the Greek scheme of things and Galileo. And over here we have an authentic old envelope from 1945 from an estate auction that I recently got. It has these nice Canada stamps on it here, and I like the amber color. So this is to Mrs. Wilking, and this is the other side of that Florence paper, the depiction of Florence from the Galileo book, and I liked it here because it really matches these stamps and it just brings the whole spread together. And then we have another technical illustration journal card that goes in here. Then some blue paper, which I like with that brown, and cabbage dyed paper. And then this is more from the Celestial Image book, and I've added some NASA cards here: Cheshire Cat, Centaurus A, NGC 6388, and you flip over and there's a couple more: NGC 239Z, or Z39Z, and VV340. And this is about more things like to do with like astrology and wizards and that sort of stuff, because I think she would also be looking up the mythology around space. More sunburst paper that's been cabbage dyed. This is David Thomas Smith's Burj Dubai from Anthropocene 2009 and 10. More of that drone photography. And on back we have a little library card here in a pocket. And more of the old manual. This is about spark plugs. Really cool old illustrations. Graph paper. This is the depiction of Florence from the Galileo book. And another beautiful illustration from that book. Cabbage dyed paper. This is astronomical twilight and sidereal time. Little pocket on this, the N and O page. And then this is a large tab made from a folder. I found these in with a bunch of 45 records at an estate auction, so it's just extra writing space. And then this is the Winkin', Blinkin' and Nod paper, and I felt like she used this page to do a couple of paintings of memories of her childhood. So here we see her, you know, a child lying in the grass looking at this ladybug and thinking about, you know, flying away, and maybe she had a dress that matched that ladybug. And then we have a turtle here who's maybe off in the driveway, or maybe she was thinking about how life can be, you know, fast and exciting or kind of slow and gray. That's up to you to depict. And then more of the book. The gingham dog went bow wow wow, and the calico cat replied meow. The air was littered an hour or so with bits of gingham and calico, while the old Dutch clock in the chimney plays, up with its hands before its face, for it always dreaded a family row. Now mind, I'm only telling you what the old Dutch clock declares is true. And then here we have Nicolas Copernicus and a diagram of his heliocentric system of the universe from his Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, 1543. And then here, this is actually from a book that's about Canada, and I just really felt like this could be some kind of like travels that she's done, some photos that she's taken. So I've added a large luggage tag inside. And then this is from the same book as this, because this photography is from Adrienne Clarkson. She was our 26th Governor General in Canada from 1999 to 2005. And she says, for me, Ontario is Georgian Bay. This is the place that has the oldest exposed rocks in the world, 1.8 billion years old. They are the roots of what was once a mountain range as high as the Himalayas, stretching down the length of North America. When you lie on them to look at the Perseid showers of stars in the middle of August, or are startled by the play of the northern lights, you realize that you are in a timeless and ageless world. Once we saw the entire bowl of heaven dancing with the lights from the center, which appeared like a large hovering bird, the atmosphere alive with electric vibrations and streams of light like no other. This is the gift to those of us who are fortunate enough to live in this magical place. So there's also the French writing on the back, and then on back, our sort of statement about Ontario is it's yours to discover. And this book was from 150 years of Ontario. And I just thought I'd add a little bit of Canada in here because that's where I live. And this is another of the dissolved National Geographic pages that I made. And then another of those amazing images from the Galileo book, the Hermetic concept of the divine harmony of the universe, symbolized by the divine monochord, a hodgepodge of mathematics, mystician, and cosmology from Robert Flood, History of the Universe, 1617 to 19. And then we have this here. These are images of Florence and other places relating to Galileo, and then this as well. And then this is Eva Stenrum, Birds in Flight. Really cool photography. And then this is Eva Stenrum, Drape, and we just see this woman's legs back here, and I felt like there was a lot of symbolism in this as well, to like being a woman in a world that's, you know, not equal for women. And more cabbage dye paper, more of that gargoyle book with this beautiful architecture. And then the last page is another of my fun dyed papers, and we see this big rusty cog, and then in center here there was a little rusty key. And then at back I have this, this is one of those, you can remove these are metal, you can remove the papers here, but there's a few of these fun papers for extra writing space at the back here. All different kinds of like log kind of papers, bullet papers, different patterns. And then here at the back we have our scientist and maybe her love, and this is an old fragment of an old 1950s photo that I've added on this pocket. And inside we have antennae, another of the NASA playing cards, and another of the samples. This one rubber stamped with oil from the Exxon Valdez, Prince William Sound, Alaska, March 24th, 1989. So I liked the connotation of a rubber stamp because this is a journal. And then I've done something kind of fun over here with this vacuum tube for a tube amp. So this comes off. So there's a brassy eyelet here and a bulb pin, and you just undo the bulb pin, and it comes right on out, like so. Now it is on some brassy wire, 3 loops of it, and you can see here it's really fun. It's a little glass vacuum tube from a tube amp, and I just thought like this was something that would be like a cool, I use this kind of stuff in like sculptural art that I've made in the past, and I just felt like it would be kind of a cool charm. It would look really nice sitting on a bookshelf, and you just see this thing like kind of hanging there, and people would kind of see it and be like, what is that, you know? So then you could say, oh, that's my science and discovery, you know, journal. And I thought it would be kind of just a fun theme. So there we are. Oh, and then the other thing about this is it has this little moving bit here that's just kind of for fun. So that is this journal. I hope you enjoyed the flip through and that you enjoyed this journal. If it's something that might interest you, it will definitely be in my Etsy shop if you're seeing this video. And thank you again for joining me. You can find links to my Etsy shop and my other social media down below in the description box. Bye for now.